everybody's making these stupid YouTube videos. Everybody's making these stupid YouTube videos. And they're all hand talkers, aren't they? They're all yabbering with their hands. Sorry, my stuff is bouncing all over the place. But hey, you know what? When you live in a rinky shop and you got rinky stuff, you get a bouncy camera setup. But that's not nearly the point of why I'm here. People are constantly complaining. They're constantly complaining about Canada. They're like, it's too expensive to live. It's too expensive to breathe. It's too expensive to eat. It's too expensive to anything. And nobody seems to want to do anything to make their situation any better. Jordan Peterson, he's flapping and bitching. I fail to see that he's doing anything for anyone except, he's looking out for his own interests, right? Because he's, you know, free speech, right? Who ever said that free speech meant freedom from consequence for saying dumb shit? Who said that? I never heard that. My dad never told me that. He says, you say dumb things, you get dumb consequences. That's kind of what it is, right? I don't think that's exclusive to Canada. That's everywhere on this planet. People say, I mean, certainly, arguably more so on other planets, and I realize that, I just kind of get what I get from YouTube or from, as people call it these days, the evil MSM, right? So, because they're clearly not telling the whole story. Probably not, but you know what? Hey, I'm just a little guy in a little corner of the planet, and I mean, I could argue that life is pretty decent here. I'm certainly no spring chicken, and I kind of feel like I fought my way through everything to get to where I am right now. And I didn't graduate from high school. Wasn't born with the silver spoon in my mouth, and I never had an excessive amount of money. Um, and it wasn't up until after my three kids left home that I started actually getting what people kind of classify as disposable income, mad money. Anyways, that's neither here nor there. Especially when you're dealing with somebody who's trying to live in the world right now, and they're dealing with excessive home prices, which Pierre Poilievre can say all he wants about it being Trudeau's fault, but the simple fact of the matter is, um, there's a lot more demand for places. There's a lot more demand right now. There's pent up demand. People don't want to be stuck in their parents' basement, as he says. That's true. They got stuck down there for a couple of years. People couldn't do anything for a couple of years. It was pretty restrictive for everybody. These guys out in the convoy, they're saying it's all about them, right? Wait a minute. I think I was stuck at home too. I think I had some restrictions as well, just the same as they did, just the same as everybody else did. I'm not here to pass judgment on people who kind of believe or disbelieve the convoy, or vaxxers or anti-vaxxers, or there's there's more opinions in the world on that stuff right now than there are assholes, and everybody's got one of those. And I don't understand how there's more opinions than there are assholes, but anyways, there is. So everybody wants to spit up their opinion on everything, but lately I've been coming across. Actually, I came across one guy's video, and I'm not sure where he immigrated from. He immigrated to Canada. He's living in Vancouver. Vancouver is, no secret, the most expensive city in Canada to live in. No, it has been for decades, as far as I know, as far as I've been led to believe. It's damn expensive. Got a friend of mine moved out there to take an entry level position at an entry level crap job, and they're paying him $31 an hour, $31 an hour in Vancouver, and he's probably gonna struggle to pay all his bills. Probably going to struggle at 31 bucks an hour. Not to mention the fact that, um, you know, people want to get kind of in, they can't get into Vancouver, but their job is based in Vancouver. So they live out in, um, I mean, maybe some as far out as Abbotsford, but we're not even going to that extreme. Surrey, Langley, some of these places in there, and they're commuting every day, and they're spending 3 hours a day before and after, an hour and a half in the morning, an hour and a half in the afternoon, and that you know that takes a toll too, right? That goes against your wage, that goes against your cost. You got to pay for that gas, or you got to pay for transit. I know, I'm no stranger to it. I lived in Edmonton, and for years I drove, probably an hour in the morning and an hour and a half in rush hour in the afternoon every day. So now my work day was never an 8 hour workday. My work day was at least 11 hours every day. And that's what it was until I relocated from a large city into a small town where I have the luxury of, if I wanted to, I can go home for lunch every day. And that's what it is. But that's also not kind of the topic that I'm kind of trying to delve into here. This guy who relocated to Vancouver is complaining that at his six-figure income, it's not enough, and it, arguably it probably isn't. I'm not going to sit here and pass judgment on how he spends his money or doesn't spend his money. I understand it's it's very expensive to live in Vancouver. It's expensive to buy. It's expensive to rent. It's expensive to drive around. It's expensive to insure your car. It's expensive. It always has been. It always will be. There's not a government on the planet that will change that. I don't care what Pierre Poilievre says. He's never going to change the fact that it's expensive to live in big cities that are desirable to live in. Pierre, you're never gonna change that. And all of you people who think that he's gonna change that, you're deluding yourselves. It's never gonna happen. So, in any case, I grew up in small town BC, and in the '90s, it was expensive to live. It was, and when you were uh, lacking education, as I was, and you were lacking skills, as I was, and all you wanted to do was pay as little as possible so you could save the rest of your money for beer, well, you're kind of limited, man. You had to do what you had to do. So I'm not saying that was entirely it might have been my motivation when I was 18. It might have been beer. Beer might have been my motivation. In any case, I did relocate. I relocated throughout the country a number of times. I went to Saskatchewan. I went to Alberta, and you know the wages were maybe not necessarily higher um, in a lot of those instances. However, the uh, the rent was lower. The rent was significantly lower, except for one place. I went in 2000. I ended up out in Ontario in a suburb of Toronto, and wages were very low, and rent was incredibly high. That was that 10 months I spent there. That was the worst 5 years of my life. I swear, I would never go back to Ontario. Yet nobody had a check big enough to get me to go back up there. Neither here nor there. It was too expensive. I didn't complain about it. I just left. I just went where, I knew I could make a reasonable living and I could, again, afford beer, right? Because who doesn't like beer, you know? Um, Relocate. What is the problem with people relocating to a different city in a different province within our country where they can give themselves an advantage? You can get an advantage. You move to Saskatoon. I understand the winters are brutal out there. I get it. I I spent a few years in southern Saskatchewan. The winters are brutal. They are, and you got two choices: you complain about it or you leave, and that's or well, more than two choices. You cannot complain about it, or you can leave, or you can suck it up, get over it, and do what millions of other people have done, which is just it's what it is, man. It's part of the weather patterns on the planet. Entitlement. People have entitlement now. They do. They really do have entitlement. You know, it's like this guy thinks, and actually, I shouldn't say it like that. I'm not sure from his home country what he was told when he what would happen when he relocated to Canada. I don't know. I think moving to Canada is a difficult. Um, I think it's a difficult process. I think Canada's standards for letting people immigrate to Canada is. Uh, I think they set the bar. I, I actually do. I'm not. I don't know if they just let anybody in. I don't know. I just don't know how that works. I've got friends that I would love to help these people immigrate to Canada and come and start earning some good money. I, I'd love to. I don't know what the process is. I as a small business owner now, I graduated, right? So as a small business owner, I think it's from what I've come to understand is very cost prohibitive for me to help someone kind of relocate into the country. But I mean, I'm just kind of looking into that. If it's possible, I will. And I'm not against hiring local guys, but there's no local guys to be had that want to, you know, do hard work. There isn't. They just it's what I do. Roofing, by the way, is it's a tough industry, and it's not a lot of guys want to do it, and I get that. I I did it for years. It's hard work. It's hard work. You gotta sweat. You gotta like being outside. You gotta not mind getting dirty. You gotta not mind smashing up your fingers. You gotta not mind wearing a harness and a rope. You gotta not mind people assuming that all you do is smoke dope all day long. And by the way, I haven't smoked a joint for 25 years. So that's the first assumption people make about me as a roofer, that all I do is smoke weed. I don't. We don't all smoke weed. A lot of us do. A lot of a lot of people from every industry smoke weed and do other drugs, and that's a whole that's a whole nother story. So we're not even getting into that. But in any case, I'm not sure what this guy was, what people are told when they immigrate to Canada. Like it's almost like this guy seems to think that you get to Canada and bang, all of your financial problems and woes are gone, and you just buy a house, get earn a bazillion dollars, you drink beer and rum and wine whenever you want, and really you don't even have to get up until 10 in the morning, I guess, right? Is that what you guys are told? Because you know what, I'm not advocating. I'd love to see people immigrate here, but I'm not. Sorry, advocating was not the right word to use. I'm not the one who is telling people what to expect when they come to Canada. I'm not. It's not me. I don't know if it's, and like he says, and it could very well be that it's realtors and people who have a financial interest, right? So of course they want money. Of course they do. That's the nature of human beings on this planet. Everybody wants money, and they're all looking for somewhere that they can get money from. So you know what? I'm all about people coming here and doing well, and I'm all about people finding the Canadian dream, whatever that is. You know, but you got to be realistic. I mean, if you can't afford it in a particular city with what you're earning, maybe it's time. And I'm not just talking about immigrants or refugees. Refugees is a whole. I'm talking about anybody, any Canadian who, you know, are, especially the younger ones, if you're complaining that it's too expensive in that town where you're at, and there's not enough homes on the market, and that's driving up the cost because everybody's multiple bidding on them, and there's bidding wars on every single house, maybe it's time to go. Maybe. I understand you might not want to, you might not because maybe not everybody's as comfortable with it as I was, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just a different breed. Maybe I'm just a different breed of Canadian. But I kind of did what I had to do, and I relocated where I had to relocate to. And throughout that whole time, I always worked. I always worked my 40 hours a week, and or more. I know that there's guys that work more. I get it. There's people that work more jobs. And then the other thing is, why do these people seem to think that because they got two kids, they need a 9,000 square foot home? Why do you think that you need to start out with a 9,000 square foot home, a 5 car bedroom, 14 cars out? I realize I'm exaggerating here for effect a little bit, but I raised 3 kids, me and my wife and 3 kids, in barely over a 900 square foot home. And I, I don't see the problem with that. Everybody had, I mean, the girls had to share a bedroom. You know, life was rough. Maybe they'll never want to share a bedroom with anybody ever again. I don't know. That's gonna be that's gonna be up to them, right? They're grown and they're gone and they're kind of doing their own thing now. But why do you need a 9,000 square foot house? Why do you need a 3,000 square foot house for 3 people? I don't get it. I know a guy near to where I am. He built a 13,000 square foot home for him and his wife. 13,000. That's, pardon my French, fucking ridiculous. But hey, if he can afford to do it, more power to him. And if you can't afford to buy a 3,000 square foot home for you and your wife and 2 kids, don't buy a 3,000 square foot home. If you can't afford to buy a single detached home, buy a townhouse, buy a mobile home. Wait for the values to go up, sell it, and move up like so many people have done before you. I don't I don't get why that's such a big deal, but that seems to be kind of a big deal and kind of falls in there with entitlement. I've known people who have said, they say, "Hey, you know what? I work every day, and I can work 60 hours a week, and I deserve to have a brand new car, and I deserve, and I'm entitled." I'm, everybody's all entitled. Everybody's entitled right now, right? So, not everybody. I know you're not, right? You aren't entitled. You get it. You hear what I'm saying? God, the politics is in such a state these days. It's crazy. You know, I was never involved, or I never kept up on politics until this whole Donald Trump thing. That guy was an absolute riot, an absolute riot. That guy made me laugh every day, and it is just in the United States, man. There's a new stupid bozo bonehead every single day. And like this George Santos guy, like this is insanity. This guy is just absolutely, this is bonkers, man. That they'd actually, this guy's, I can't even believe it. I can't even believe it. I'm stuttering over my own words at my just it's crazy. It is crazy how this guy's in there. But I get that Republicans don't want to let him go because apparently they need that seat, and you know, they don't seem to want to say anything bad about this guy, especially not the wingnuts like Marjorie Green. Come on, that lady is classic. These guys, her, Matt Gaetz, Lauren Boebert, whatever her name is, Bubbles, and Donald Trump. These guys are just they're walking punchlines. They're absolute walking punchlines. And I say that you guys are gonna, somebody's gonna pick fun at me. Yeah, go ahead. I'm a small target, man. That's okay. I get it. Not everybody's gonna fall on the same side as me. I get it. People have different opinions, and that's the beauty of the world these days. People have different opinions. But let's get back to the entitlement. Come on, man. Move to a different province. Move to a different city. There are cities where, and you don't have to buy a brand new house. Why do these guys got to buy a brand new house? Why can't they buy an old used house? Get the same size home for a fraction of the price. Yeah, okay. Well, you know what? There's going to be a whole bunch. I get that some people aren't going to be. Um, they're not fix it guys like me. I mean, I can fix pretty well anything, and you know, uh, uh, I've rebuilt my kitchen, bedroom, you name it. Built my own shop. I do. Not everybody can do that. I get it. I get it. Sometimes you're gonna have to pay people to do things. I'm not a mechanic. I got to pay people to fix my cars, um, especially these days. I mean, I used to fix my cars, the older cars, but it's much more technical now than it used to be. I got to pay people to do that, and that's what it is. And there's, you know, electrical work. I got to pay electricians, plumbers. I got to pay plumbers, heating guys. I get it. We all pay, man. You know, that's what it is. But if I were to give any words of encouragement to anybody relocating to Canada or anybody that lives in Canada and you're having a tough time, relocation is not that bad. It's not the end of the world. I get it. All these people say, well, why should I have to relocate? Why me? Why should I have to do all these things? But I'm just bending some of this stuff here. Um, why why should you have to relocate? I'm not saying that you absolutely have to, but come on, man, it should at least be an option, right? So look at your options. Maybe your options aren't immigrating and moving to the most expensive city in Canada. If you find you get stuck in a city that's just not treating you well financially, don't throw your hands up in the air and say, "Well, I'm going to go back to wherever." I mean, you can do that by all means. By all means, if you want to go back to your home country, go back to your home country. I'm not telling you to go back. I would love for you to stay here. I would love for you to be financially successful in this country. It benefits everybody within this country. I cannot overstate um, how much I would love to see more immigrants move to this country. I'd love to. I'd love to see it be a lot more accessible for all kinds of people around the world. There's a ton of work for everybody. There's all kinds of stuff to do, um, and I think we would certainly benefit from bringing people in from every corner of the planet by the boatload, maybe, right? And I'm not even saying cheap labor. I'm saying I want them to come here and earn just as much as anybody else does. That's what I'm saying. I think just because you immigrate to a country doesn't mean you shouldn't be entitled to what everybody else is in that get. If we're going to let them in, they get the same as I get. They get the same treatment as everybody else in this country, and that's the way I kind of see it. And I understand that I'm probably going to ruffle a couple of feathers out there over that one, but that's just my opinion. Okay, that's just my opinion. Um, yeah. Okay. Well, I guess that's about it. But you're not supposed to be entitled. Don't be entitled. Just work hard, do what you need to do, and help other people on the way. Okay, that's enough.